Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to the Renesas virtual MCU rally test race. My name is Rok and this is Andrea. We're from University of Ljubljana and we'll be your hosts for this event.
We will see 10 teams competing from 7 universities from all over Europe. Well, mostly Central, and even stronger representatives are from the eastern part of Europe. So the teams had to design their own robot and the controller for the robot. So what we'll be seeing today is competing their robots, their models on 3 tracks. So I'll let Rok to explain how the competition will be going.
Okay, so the competition format is as follows. We'll be racing on 3 different tracks. We'll have a qualifying session on a track that mimics the famous Suzuka circuit from Japan. Then we'll do a sprint race for 3 laps on the famous Silverstone circuit from the UK, at least our MCU rally version of it. And of course the last race will be a feature race on Nürburgring. The Renesas Virtual MCU Rally, so this competition is a counterpart to what was previously held by Renesas Electronics Europe as a part of their university program. So in previous years, of course, this was a live event, the Embedded World Fair in Nuremberg. But of course, due to the pandemic, we've had to sort of go away from live events, and we are organizing this virtual one right now. So we'll just jump into the competition, and one more thing for those of you who are watching this stream live, please let us know if the quality of the stream, as well as if you have any questions, just write them in the YouTube chat and we'll be monitoring that to try and do our best to answer any sort of questions that you might have. Okay, so here we go, an overview of the qualifying track, the Suzuka track. And the first thing we're going to be seeing on each of these tracks is what we call a safety car. This safety car traces the track and it creates a bunch of, let's say, waypoints that all the competitors must also go through. So it is a mechanism that we've created that sort of disallows any sort of cheating or making shortcuts. So yeah, at the beginning of every part of our race, we are gonna be looking at the safety car first. The starting order for the qualifying is random, and all the cars will have 0 additional weight. We've added this weight penalty to the sprint and the feature race to make things more interesting, but we'll explain a bit more about that later.
So the car is almost at the end of the lap, so we are preparing for the first competitor. I think we just finished, so
yeah, there's a short pause between each of the competitors. And we're waiting for our first car to start driving on the track. So we have car IAIE from the Technical University of Gheorghe, Asachi. Hopefully we're saying this right.
Yes, and that's a university from Romania. It was established in 1937, if I'm correct, and it's actually the Iasi, if I'm correct, is the 2nd largest city in Romania. I have never been there, but I hope to join soon. And
oh, I think there's a yeah.
Oh, so
okay. So what happened here was that the car went off track, and yeah, it's sad to see, especially for the competitors. The way this works, of course, is that all the students sent us their files up front, and of course they were unable to test this in the real conditions. So it's really important to have a robust car, a robust controller, and we saw our first competitor going off track. So here we are looking at our second competitor, which is the ROBODEU,
which is from Dokuz, Eylul University. So I think, okay, it's qualifying in the first lap.
We really don't have much time to commentate, since this one seems extremely fast. Look at this, the time was 40.14 seconds, and currently this robot took first place. So the scoring table is updated with every robot, when every robot finishes, and yeah, we'll see how this goes. So the next competitor are from Harz, which is a school from Germany, and they're competing here with two robots. Brockenblitz 2 is their first one, and this one is a very interesting looking robot. What is this, a locomotive? Part of train? So,
special points for design, for certain.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I took some liberty with the design. Of course, just for all the viewers, for another part of the competition, the design does not influence the performance of the car, so it's purely a visual effect of the train going around the track. And here we are with the second place right now with 55.33 seconds of total time on Suzuka for lap number 1. Robot number 3, orange. Okay, so we'll just quickly check. Sorry, where these robots, which team these robots from? Since
it's actually smiling.
It does have a nice design.
And
I'm sorry for that. Okay, so
another few turns.
So this robot's actually from Cukurova University,
which is another university from Turkey.
And it went off track almost to the same place as the IAIE robot, but still it's enough for third place at the moment, and we'll see how it goes, how other teams qualify. So again, the robots going off track, I mean, it's something that should be avoided, of course, as much as possible, but it's kind of difficult to do that if you're unable to test in the real environment. So when all the teams, they send their code, they receive no feedback whether their robot, how their robot ran, right? So they were only able to test them internally, but then of course they do not know how it's going to perform in the real competition that we have right now. So we have the BRRC robot now from Craiova University.
Yeah, that's from Romania, one of the two Romanian universities in competition today. Okay, lap time almost done.
It's 58.88, enough for the third place, but very importantly, the robot did finish the entire track. So we're halfway done with the qualifying. The qualifying goes really fast. As you can see, it's just one lap on this track, but then the sprint and the feature race, they're gonna take a bit longer since they're 3 and 5 laps respectively. We have the other robot from Harz University, Brockenblitz 1, again with their signature train look.
I guess they were friends when they were making designs, so they joined forces, which is actually quite nice to see.
Yeah, it's actually one of the more important aspects of these kinds of competitions, since they have this educational value, especially within the Renesas University program, where students can learn about how their microcontrollers work and how they are to be programmed. It's also about teamwork. If there's multiple teams from the same university, there's internal competition. There's also, teams helping each other. And here we go, Brockenblitz 1, 58.19. That's 0.6 of a second faster than BRRC, and currently good enough for the third place.
Close to the second team from Harz University.
And we have another one going really fast. This is sort of scary. It might go off. We'll see. Looking really quick. University of Prishtina this time. Lightning McQueen, the name of the robot.
Reminds me of a movie. I guess it was intended because it's so fast. Oh, and it did not finish the qualifying lap.
Yeah, and it unfortunately went off track just a bit earlier than the other ones, and so currently in 7th and last place. So you can see the scoring for the qualifying. So only first 6 teams in the qualifiers receive the points. So we have the second robot now from Dokuz Eylul University from Turkey. This one with a nice name, R2D3U.
Fresh colors, I see. Very nice for the summer. So we're half lap through.
Yeah, it's also looking really, really quick.
Oh.
And good enough for second
Nice.
place. 800ths of a second behind their sister team with the ROBODEU robot. And 2 more robots remaining. Rotila robot coming from Craiova University. So it's the second team from the same university, this time with the Rotila robot.
This design looks actually quite simple. It has sensors and not much additions and visual additions for the robot, except the nice color.
Yeah, so the competitors were given the same basic platform for the robot, but then they're able to choose the dimensions, how far the sensors are up front, how many sensors for line following the robot has, as well as the radiuses, the widths of their tires, and so on. So Rotila doing really well, 46.34, good enough for 3rd place in the qualifying, which is absolutely excellent. And we have our last robot for the qualifying run. It's from ETF Robotics from Serbia, and the robot's name is Fast and Fourier, another great name for the robot.
I think this team is closest to Ljubljana, where we are right now, and also represented in national colors.
Yeah.
So the teams did put some time into the design, which is really nice.
So as you can see this robot, I mean, I'm not sure if you're able to see this directly, but when you look at this robot next time, look at the front of the sensor panel. This one uses 32 sensors for line following, which is much more than most other teams, which use about 8 to 12 sensors. And the ETF Robotics qualifies 4th, just a second in front of the Harz robot Brockenblitz 2, good enough for 4 points in the qualifying. And what we'll be doing now is we are changing the track and we're going for a sprint race on the Silverstone track. The Silverstone track, we've tried to trace the real track as much as possible. So for those of you who are fans of either Formula 1 or Silverstone in general, here we are, the Maggots and Beckett's corners, now going into the chapel and the Hanger Straight. And this is actually the last part of the real track in Silverstone, where there's a chicane before the start-finish straight. So very similar to the Suzuka track. Actually, there's a entry to the pits, to the box right now, and then going back, then going towards the more technical part of the track with what is called the Village, and then Brooklands and Laffield and so on.
So to go back to the basics of the competition, we have a track that has a white line in the middle that the sensors can detect and accordingly control their movement. And we will also see on the track that we have additional white lines which are meant to signal that something is going to happen, either a turn or a lane change. So that's one way to make it easier for the car to recognize what's going to happen in the future.
So the starting order for this sprint race, and the sprint race goes for 3 laps, is actually the reverse version of the qualifying starting order. So we've started with the University of Prishtina, and looking like the robot had some problems after in the middle of the first lap, and unfortunately did not complete the full 3 laps of the sprint race. Next on we go again to the IAIE robot. I think this one's one of the best looking ones. What do you think, Andrea? Look at this, great colors. It has a texture of like a lightning, as you can see right now. So it's a great looking robot, right?
Okay, although all the robots are well designed, this has some additional features. Yes, I think has a lightning on it, and it's going quite nice.
Yeah.
So far.
Look again. I think this is running into trouble.
Trouble?
Yeah. So I recognize this. The problem. So the thing is that sometimes the robots they're mostly programmed. Most of the teams, they use state machines. There's a line following state. There's a state for making the corners and so on. And yeah, the problem is that the robot sometimes finds itself in a wrong state. Let's say it sort of just stops working, goes off track. We're back to the orange from Cukurova University. And let's see whether this robot will be the first one to finish a lap on the Silverstone track. And unfortunately not. Unfortunately, another problem. Currently good enough for second place, but I think that unfortunately a lot of the other teams are actually going to be able to finish a full lap here. So the results are probably not going to stay this way for long.
So we have some specific rules on the starting order penalty, which are determined in the qualifying session. We saw that some robots did finish and some did not. So
yes, the qualifying order determines the starting order for the sprint and the feature races. So for both of the races, actually, the starting order is reversed. So we're going to see faster and faster robots, at least if qualifying has anything to say about that, as we go. And here's our first robot that actually finishes the entire lap from Craiova University, BRRC, looking good. Then the thing about weight penalties is that for this particular race, which is the sprint race, the robot which qualified first has the largest weight penalty. It's like 1 kilo of weight is added to the robot for the fastest one. But then for the 5-lap race, the last one, it's actually that the robot which qualified the best also has the lowest weight penalty. So actually the teams, even though they were able to test these robots in their own simulation environments, well, they didn't know where they would qualify, and they could not determine 100% deterministically what their weight penalty is going to be. So it adds a bit of randomness to the whole process, and therefore they require their programming their controllers to be a bit more robust and just work in all the different situations.
So we're seeing the second lap of the BRRC robot. So what do you think is the good strategy in this case, since how to program a robot if you don't know what weight will be added in the next lap?
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to do. It's a really difficult thing to do. I think some of the teams, as we'll see going forward, I think that some of the teams did it really well. The thing is that a lot of these edge cases need to be hard-coded. So if this happens, then do this sort of thing. So it's difficult to generalize this sort of problem. And we have our first robot that actually finished the 3 laps, BRRC, with the maximum number of points so far.
Okay, back to Germany. We'll see how the Brockenblitz 1 is going to work out. The only German university competing here, although it's 2 teams. It's quite surprising because the original Renesas competition was in Nuremberg in Germany. So
yeah, so one of the things is that this is just a just a test competition to determine how you know, what the bugs are in the software and what the feedback will be from the teams, and we'll be organizing a larger open competition in the winter semester, so starting from October, and then the competition being held in early 2022. Since this was late development, let's say, this test competition, a lot of the semester has already passed when we invited the teams, so we're very happy that at least, you know, 7 universities really responded to this and have been working hard on helping us improve the whole simulation platform. So one thing that we did not yet mention is that we're using an open source simulator here as the basis for this. It's called WeBots. It's from Cyberbotics, a Switzerland company from Switzerland, and yeah, it's a great tool for learning about robotics, for learning about programming, since there's interfaces for various programming languages, and we've tried to make the interface for these robots as close to what it is in reality as possible, as feasible. So actually the students, they use almost the same functions as they do with the real Renesas MCU robots provided to them by Renesas when a real-life competition occurs in form of a development kit.
So this competition is actually also a very nice test to see how we did on programming the simulation and the competition and the background. Okay.
Taking first place right
Nice.
now, and it's a second of difference only throughout the full run. The Brockenblitz 1
Okay.
robot.
Let's see its brother, the green one. We'll see. So I hope you are all cheering up and cheering for the for your teams and trying to see who is winning.
Yeah, so we're sort of in the middle of the sprint race right now, and yeah, there's a lot of things that we're sort of going to be talking about as we go. And one of the things that you can see, the color of the tires vary between the teams. So this one, for example, as you can see, has yellow markings on their tires. So we sort of did this with an homage to Formula One, where red tires mean soft, yellow means medium, while white tires mean hard tires. And actually we have a friction model that changes as the robots drive throughout the track. So it's actually like this. The first lap is usually going to be the fastest one, since the robot's going to have the most grip. And the second one's going to be a bit slower. Third one's going to be even slower, and so on. So the robots slow down because they actually lose grip over time, which is something that happens with the real robots as well. So as you can see, the previous lap time was about 42 seconds, and now for the second lap it was 45 seconds, and we'll see how Brockenblitz 2 does in its third lap.
It was also a challenge to build the tracks. The tracks are designed as they were in the real Renesas competition. So we kept all the rules about the width of the lines and the parts that are separate and can be made into the track. So the teams could then also test their models on their own tracks if they wanted to.
We're getting some feedback in chat. Very happy that it's positive. So Steve from Renesas is saying that we should continue this commentary for the Ukraine versus North Macedonia football match this afternoon. As we all know, European Football Championship is is actually ongoing currently. Unfortunately, our team, the Slovenian team, did not qualify. And in Slovenia, we are very much, how do you say that? If we qualify, then we're 100% full on into the competition. Currently, we haven't qualified. We're cheering for our neighbors, for Croatians, at least me personally. But yeah, thank you for nice feedback. Thank you so much. And speaking about our Balkan brothers, ETF Robotics from Belgrade with their Fast and Fourier robot completing first lap in about 45 seconds. So we see that even in the first lap the robot is a bit slower than the Brockenblitz, but running really well so far, so it did complete the first lap successfully.
Still fast. I don't know if it's Fourier.
And you can see this robot uses a bit of a different design. The sensors are more up front, and the sensors being up front, it has some benefits but also some drawbacks. The main benefit is that the robot sort of sees further on into the future. The further away the sensors are, the further you see. But then if you were to put the sensors further along, then the problem would be doing the 90-degree turns. And incredibly, as you can see, this robot improved its time in the second lap. Of course, the standing start may have been an influence here, but we are running at about 43 seconds per lap, which I think is quite competitive.
Does it have to do anything to do with the tires?
Oh, for sure. Look at this. It's red color, meaning soft tires. So the rules for the tires are that they need to be the same for the qualifying and for the last race, which is the feature race. But the teams can use whatever they want for this sprint race. Again, modeled by the Formula One kind of thing, where the qualifying order... sorry, we need to break this down. First team right now for the ETF Robotics team, about 4 seconds overall faster than the previous best. Looking really good.
Now we're going back to the Romanian team.
Yes, so we are back to the team from Craiova.
They decided to choose the yellow tires. And I think this design is quite simple. It's very similar to the simple design that the teams started from.
Oh, and the robot went off track about 70% of the first lap.
Okay.
Currently 4th in standings, but the points for the second race might still drop as other teams set better times. We're really sorry, guys. I know a lot of the teams are, expecting their robots to do really well, but as you can see, it's challenging for everybody. And only, I think, the teams that really did a lot of testing, testing the simulation, are able to really build robust controllers and complete full laps in these races.
Yeah, we have to say that this competition right now is fully automated, so we're here just watching and commenting, so we don't have any influence in this moment to what the robots are doing. The only thing we had to do is to place the files that were sent from the teams into the correct folders, and the competition is now fully automated.
Yeah, there's a way going forward to really fully automate the process. So we are thinking going forward about a sort of a website where anybody could build their own robot, write their own software, and then just upload it to a website and compete with others from all around the world immediately. Yeah, there's a lot of good things about these kinds of competition. Whoa, this robot's actually really on the limit. As you could see, a big slide in one of the corners.
Nice.
Oh, okay, again. So as you can see, when the friction drops problems started appearing, 102 seconds, first place, and 33.80 for their best lap. So absolutely amazing.
The limits paid up.
Yeah, really was on the limit of the grip of this robot. And let's see how the sister team, which is also from Dokuz Eylul University from Turkey, the ROBODEU team, does. And it seems that these two teams are really competing for the highest of places.
By the way, I found it interesting about what the university's name actually says. It says September 9th, so I learned 2 new Turkish words while searching for a little bit more background info on the teams that have joined this competition.
So let's see, we have a 34.03 in the first lap, going well in the second one, really smooth through the lane changes and really slowing down consistently for the 90-degree turns, which are the 2 key things that really need to be made well in order for these robots to run consistently. We have 33.65 in the second lap, which is even faster than the first one, which was with the standing start. So yes, again, observe this robot and watch whether it slides around in the fast corner changes, because similar to the previous one, it seems that the grip is slowly going away. And let's see if the robot even finishes the entire lap. A few more corners to go.
Oh, almost.
That was really close. That was really close. Yeah, taking first place. 0.2 of a second in front of their sister team and taking over the first place in the competition after the sprint race. And now for the final part of the competition, the feature race. The feature race has 5 laps. Again, we're going to see the safety car trace the Nürburgring imitation of our MCU rally track. And the points for the feature race are actually the teams get the most points for this race.
Yeah, so at the end, the order will be defined by results from all the races together. So the points are awarded differently in qualifying, sprint and feature races. So for the first place in feature race gets 25 points. So
nothing is lost in a way. You know, if you qualify first, you get 10 points. In the sprint race, 15 is the maximum. But then 25 points, which is qualifying plus the sprint race combined. That's what you can get for this feature race. So it's really important to do well here in this last race. And let's see how Lightning McQueen does as the first robot coming from Kosovo, from University of Prishtina.
Oh. Okay, it found the way back to the track.
No shortcuts allowed. We are very sorry for that, but no shortcuts allowed. So yes, currently okay in the first place, but as soon as teams start setting their times, this road is probably going to drop a bit, since it has not been able to finish up a whole lap. And unfortunately, same goes for the IAIE robot. Unfortunately, goes off in the first corner. And again, for the teams who are watching this, I'm sure you've tested this in your simulation. As you can see, this might differ a bit when running in this competition setting. And it's really important to try and solve all these uncertainties when writing your programs. And Orange from Cukurova University also going off a bit later than the Lightning McQueen robot, and we'll see how they do. Actually earlier than Lightning McQueen robot, and we'll see how they do in the end. Now BRRC, the first robot from Craiova University, starting its journey, its 5-lap journey, hopefully.
Going a little better than previous competitor.
Wait.
Oh.
No.
So the robot needs to pass all the checkpoints that were defined by the safety car, and it seems that they need to pass here.
And they need to be passed in order. So going in reverse, I mean, you can go for a while, but not really for long. You need to move forward all the time, otherwise the referee resets your robot. And there's a difference, right? In the live competition, the competitors are actually able to pick up their robot, and they just get a time penalty for that. But here, there's no time penalties, there's no picking up the robot. The robot, when it goes off, the run is finished. So there's a bit of a difference between the real competition in reality and this virtual one.
Yeah, so some aspects are easier in the virtual competition, and maybe there are also some downsides. Maybe we can comment on why we decided on the WeBot simulator. We actually are working in a university with different simulators for robotics, but we chose WeBots.
Yeah, the WeBot simulator, the main reason is the ease of use. Since a lot of the professional or research scientific robotics software is really not that user-friendly. It requires quite a bit of, let's say, technical skills just to run, just to set up. While WeBots works on Linux, it works on Mac, and works on Windows, and I think it was just the best choice for all of these. And Brockenblitz once stopped on the hill, going into its third lap, unfortunately unable to finish the entire track.
Do you think there's a reason why it did not continue?
Yeah, yes, for sure. So there's an issue which was reported but very late by the teams, that when going on these hill type structures, the sensors might, let's say, get a reading as if they were detecting a double line. So maybe the robot thought it was going into a corner, while in fact it was going uphill. And sometimes these scenarios are actually difficult to discern, to see how they are different. The thing is, a lot of these things happen with the real competition as well. And you know, in our previous experience, going to the Renesas competition to Nuremberg every year, you know, you test and test in your lab with your students in a let's say very deterministic environment. But once you go to the real competition, something's gonna go wrong. You know, it's very difficult to build a robot that runs well in reality. And well, I guess that's a compliment for what we did here, because it's difficult to do that in our simulation as well.
Yeah, well, that was actually when we were making a proposal for a virtual competition. We tried to figure out how to make the competition interesting. Although some things might seem quite easier if the competition is virtual.
So we see Brockenblitz 2 going better than the Brockenblitz 1 brother robot. So we're now in the middle of the third lap, already past the point where Brockenblitz 1 was unable to go uphill. But we already see the effects of the tire wear, or just the dirt that gets stuck onto the tires as the robots go by. So you see that the friction is not there anymore, and therefore the robot sort of dances around in the fast corners, and the corner changes.
Okay, we're seeing the fourth lap.
And it's catching itself nicely on the exit here.
Although the robot has to finish 5 laps in the feature race.
Yeah. And we're sort of approaching the middle of the feature race competition. And let's just start looking at the times right now. So Brockenblitz 2 running around at about 46 seconds per lap in our previous lap, and now again 46 seconds in the lap number 4. So let's see whether it's going to be able to finish all 5 laps. Looking good, right?
So far, so good.
Again,
just a few turns. So we have 15 turns here. So now we're in the Michael Schumacher.
Yeah, we're now going into the Michael Schumacher S's, as they call these two turns, in their other wheel Nürburgring track. Yeah, now going on to the back straight, so actually finish on the back straight here. 5 laps completed, absolutely great. Best lap was 40.28 seconds, and taking first place right now is Brockenblitz 2. And let's see whether the ETF robotics team will be able to beat this with their Fast and Fourier. So we saw about 43 seconds in their third and fourth laps. That would be a good target for this robot as well if it wants to compete with the current leaders. So one of the things that we did as organizers, of course, we had the access to look at the code that the teams sent us, and I think this was one of the most complex controllers actually that we received from this team. So it was, let's say, professional grade programming in terms of control theory. This robot actually uses a PID controller to control the velocities of each individual wheel. So from the programming perspective, this was one of the most complex ones for sure.
So how do you start programming such a controller? Maybe to say a few words for those who wonder how to start and how to progress in programming.
So the way it works is that we actually provide maybe 10 lines of code that are needed for the entire setup program. Then the interface is actually quite straightforward. The competitors call a function which returns the values from the sensors. Then they need to process that data, do mathematical operations to determine where the line is below the sensor, and use this information to provide actually voltages for the wheels. We're modeling the motors as direct current motors, where the voltage actually produces the electric current, the current produces torque, and torque is what is actually applied to the wheels in the simulation. So we're trying to do a very realistic model of the motors, and currently a lot of the physics actually works quite well. And the thing I think we're going to be polishing going forward is especially the collision detection. Because sometimes when the wheels are on these tracks, you might get a bit of a weird behavior, which we are working on fixing. But anyway, yeah, the programming interface, you get an input from the sensor, and then you need to provide the torques for the motors, as well as the rotating motor, and that's basically it.
So sometimes you can improve the robot by complicating the program, maybe, or sometimes a lot of it has to do just with fine-tuning the certain parameters. That even if you keep the same program from the start, fine-tuning is also an important part to get the right behavior from the robot. And I see these tires are white now. I think the Serbian University are now, we saw the robot with red tires before, now it's back with white as in qualifying lap.
Yeah, so they're using the hard tire, which I think is a good choice for the longer race, especially for these longer races. So you are going to qualify a bit worse on the hard tires, but then you might get more points here with this sort of strategy. You see them running at about 46 seconds, which is just a bit slower than the Brockenblitz 2 robot earlier. And let's see how they place. Overall, a bit slower than the Brockenblitz 2, so currently in the second place, but this might all change as the other three teams finish up their races and change the order as well as the scoring, the points by the end of the competition. So we only have 3 more robots. Rotila again here from the Craiova University.
So while programming the simulation, we also had some fun with building the tracks and the transparency. So not everything works just as simple so that you just put the parts together, but we had to redesign some images because the physics engine handled the transparency sometimes as not transparent, and the robots behaved quite not optimally, so we had to fix it.
Yeah, there are of course issues when customizing this sort of software with, in this case with the rendering engine, where the textures, even though they are transparent or they seem transparent, they're actually not detected as transparent by the sensors. There was a bit of an issue that we, let's say, managed to fix to a certain degree, and we'll be really working on fully solving by the full competition, again starting in the winter semester. Running great, look at these 45 seconds in their second lap. This is very competitive right now, looking very competitive.
So what was the best lap time for this track so far?
So far the Brockenblitz, I think, was running a particular lap at around 43 seconds if I remember correctly, but then the ETF team was around 46 seconds, so we have, oh,
unfortunately.
Oh, the robot, I think, failed to detect the corner in its third lap and was unable to finish, still taking third place right now as it stands in the feature race, but I think it's not gonna be enough for the topmost places. And look at this, going so fast. Again, is the R2D3U robot from Dokuz Eylul University.
So when the design of the robot and of the controller is optimized, you can also speed the robot up and still drives safely. Okay, so that's a fast lap time.
This is absolutely amazing. We saw their teams that ran their controllers and that worked really well at around 43, 46 seconds. But this robot just runs amazing. Look at this, about 30.75 seconds for the first lap. We'll see whether it's able to go even faster in the second one with the running start.
Also quite accurate on turns. Slows down and doesn't leave much to chances.
Yeah, and using the medium tires probably just to balance out the qualifying run with the feature race run, but going at about 32 seconds in the second lap, so I think the grip is slowly getting worse, and the teams are sort of compensating for that, trying to go a bit slower with each lap, just in order not to run off the track. But you can see the robot sliding around already. This is really dangerous. I'm wondering whether it's going to be able to finish the entire 5-lap race.
Okay. Getting really interesting now. The final laps. This lane change was very good.
Yeah, and then there was a bit of a catch that was needed, and another power slide here into this slow right-hander. You can see the robot sliding around a lot right now. Let's see the time. So it was 35 in the previous lap. Yeah, definitely slowing down. 39 in this one. So yeah, there's definitely let's say a downside to using softer tires, the mediums in this case, as the grip goes out faster, for sure.
Although the times are still great compared to previous competitors.
And so we are here now in the last few corners of the track, and it's really looking good for the robot to actually finish everything. 39 seconds in the previous lap, and in this last one, let's see, so it's about 37, 38, again around 39. Taking the lead right now in front of ETF Robotics and Harz team is the R2D3U. And now the final competitor, the final robot, ROBODEU from the same university. And you can see this one going around really well.
Yeah, both robots from the DEU University are simple in design, although I guess the team spent more time perfecting the controller and the strategy.
We have a bit of cheering in the chat. Go guys! Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, we're also cheering.
Yeah, I think so. The students really happy with how the R2D3 robot went around the track. And let's see whether the sister robot's able to match its predecessor. So the first lap was a 31.06, which is just a bit slower than the previous one, which was doing a high 30. It's around 33 seconds, so very evenly matched with the R2D3 robot.
So this is actually the last robot, the last one, right?
Yeah. So once this one finishes, our competition is actually over and we'll get the official result. The results keep changing as long as the robots are running, but since this is the last one, whatever we get after this robot finishes will be the official result of our test competition. Remember, this is supposed to be fun. So even though your competitive spirits are maybe getting the better of you, we've all been there. Even me personally, going to this robotics competition, you cannot always win. There's a lot of, loss and agony involved in in doing any sort of sports and competing. But yeah.
So do you think if we repeated this competition with these same robots in this automatized way, do you think the results would be the same?
Yeah, not really. We've tested this, and there's a slight difference even even running the simulation on the same computer multiple times. You're going to get slight differences.
Okay, the last lap.
Last lap, 42 seconds in the previous one, which I think is a bit slower than the previous robot.